Hello and welcome to another episode of Navigating Convocast, a weekly show that we do to talk about how information and media affects us and affects our lives. In today's episode, we are going to discuss about a show called Too Much, hosted by Kajol and Twinkle Khanna. We weren't going to talk about it, but a few reels went viral where their opinions were a bit problematic, and we thought that perhaps a legitimate criticism is what they deserve in this week's episode. If you don't want to listen to that conversation, you can skip 40 minutes ahead and listen to our opinions on China implementing a law that will restrict influencers giving advice about certain fields like finance, medical, and they can only talk about it if they have a degree. What are its implications? Is it a solution for misinformation or is it not a right solution? And then we also talk about how our Ministry of Broadcasting and Information has suggested OTT platforms to not show anything that can hamper our foreign relations, which is again, it's a controversial take. Like, should art be restricted, or what is exactly going to affect our foreign relations? Is this ambiguity going to help, and other things? So if you're interested in that, you can listen to that as well. All right, on to the episode. So let's get straight into it. We decided to talk about the new show hosted by Kajol and Twinkle Khanna, right?
Twinkle.
And I didn't want to talk about it because I don't think that show matters that much, and also we talk about much serious stuff. But I think whenever something goes viral on Instagram and we feel that is it problematic a bit, I think it's good to talk about it. So I watched the segment of the show where they go left or right based on what answers they have for that question, and I hope that you have also watched it. But the
Yeah.
reels were quite funny. The reels actually triggered us a lot as well, but also they were funny because it just shows that perhaps they are a bit they're not as connected to the normal public like us, and they are in their own world. But all right, let's start with it. I have a lot of theories and other I want to decode the system behind that. That's my interest, but I want to know your opinions on the show. So who do we start with? Who is more excited? uh, give me one liner. So both of you tell me what you are going to talk about, then I'll decide who will go first in one sentence. So you can go first for this one. This is a toss basically.
That gives Vedant leverage over me.
No.
Okay, this is your sentence. Vedant, what is your sentence?
I'm just going to talk about the two segments.
All right, both of you have disappointed me, but Vedant, okay, you can go first.
Yeah. So, first of all, do you want me to talk about the show or just the two segments?
So basically, okay, give the context, what the show is, and then talk about what you feel about the show. Then we'll come to the segments maybe where I'll also jump in.
Okay. So, of course, as we know, this show is just like Coffee with Karan, but there are two hosts here, Kajol and Twinkle. They invite various Bollywood celebrities and they basically talk about their whole their inside stuff and just stuff that is controversial or, gossip and stuff like that. That's what I thought when I watched some parts of it, mostly on Reels and then the two segments that I watched. But while watching, what I thought was recently, what I've been seeing on Instagram is when India's Got Latent was viral, or there are streamers like Arpit Bala or podcasters like Raj Shamani and others. So there is this culture that has started that they record an entire episode, but you see a lot of random pages on Instagram posting clips of it. Like these pages may be meme pages, they may be the fan pages or stuff like that, but their main point is to ensure that something or the other from the episode goes viral and it is on basically on everyone's feed. So it's not just the official handles that are posting it, but there are a lot of random hundreds or 200s of pages that are posting small segments of the show to ensure that people all maybe all sorts of people get hooked to it and then eventually watch the episode. This is the same thing that I observed with this show as well. I had seen a lot of it with India's Got Latent, with a lot of podcasts happening, and now the same is happening with this show. So that is that is what I think this show is. It's just an attempt to maybe go viral or get some engagement because there is no actual substance to it. Just like Coffee with Karan, you don't actually learn anything from it apart from what actually goes on in the Bollywood industry, what these actors do behind the stage, how much they drink, how much they party, who they date, and stuff like that. So that is my overall viewpoint on the show.
So yeah, so while Zui rejoins, so basically, again to give like if people haven't watched it, and I think that maybe our audience mostly, who they are, I don't think they have watched the show, but they have come across these reels, and like you said, I think it's very evident that these small clips will go viral, but the entire show may not be watched that much. But basically, I think there are a lot of talk shows in US as well and in Western media as well, where these celebrities come up and they interview or just talk with their friends basically, and it is supposed to give us a bit more candid discussions because the actors actually know the host, so they are more open and they are more friendly, and it gives us a bit more than maybe a journalist actually interviewing them because then they are a bit more careful with what they say. So that's the aim, and I think they went for that, but obviously, like you said, there are a lot of other things that make sure that this result is not satisfied. But all right, so we have Zui again. So Zui, what is your like first impression of the show? Like, how much did you watch?
Yeah.
Let us know. Yeah.
So I watched a little bit more than just the the part where they go either of the sides. So just carrying on from your point, Avnish. Yes, the format with which all of these talk shows, the Western talk shows work, is where they have these candid conversations. But what I've come to realize is that more than the gossip and more than what goes around in the lives of those stars, what people are now more interested is in the opinions that the stars have about stuff. So
Hmm.
I've come to realize that more and more talk show hosts are asking questions which get opinions out of the stars more than their life gossip or stuff that happens in their daily life. So that's what I've come to realize. And with that, with the segment where they had to do the whole choosing thing, I think that's what they tried to do. They tried to get an opinion out of whoever came on the show, but they failed miserably because they were not letting people have an opinion.
Hmm. Yeah.
So every time the talk show, every time both of the hosts they asked a question, and the whoever had come on the show, they chose a side. Then the hosts made the other people choose their side because they thought that it was right. But that just defeats the whole purpose of being candid on the show because they're not even letting them speak. And I think that was the biggest issue that I had with the show, that the talk show hosts were shit. They were not letting the people who had come
Yeah. Okay.
speak. And that makes no sense because as a host, you are supposed to ask questions and get answers, not ask questions and then get answers and then tell your answer, which you think is right, and impose that on the guest who has come on the show.
Yeah.
And that's what I found very very annoying while watching the show. I watched the show and it was so annoying to watch. I took some notes because I had to say everything. So that's one thing. Then the other thing is they've called the show too much, and it was quite literally too much because they were constantly talking over each other.
Hmm.
So again, coming back to the point of talk show talk shows, that they are
Yeah.
supposed to you know wait for the other person to speak out and have everyone give everyone an opportunity to tell what they want to say. That wasn't happening here. So yeah.
Also, like this one thing where I think Tanmay Bhatt was talking about this, like why did their roast that they did 10 years ago went so wild? Because he said that, if a bunch of celebrities are sitting with a bunch of comedians, they start to think themselves as comedians, but you're not. So, for example, we joke around a lot, but that may not translate here right now online because we are not comics. We don't know professionally how to make strangers laugh. And I got that vibe a lot where they are trying to be funny and they are funny in their circle, but on
Hmm.
camera, it just doesn't look funny. It just looks as though it's painful to watch. For me,
Yeah.
it was because the segment that I was going to talk about, or we are going to talk about, that's, I think, in the middle of the episode. So, in the start of the episode, I tried to watch a few minutes, and it was very clear that, the way they speak, the way they're trying to make jokes, it's very relatable to their own circle. But because they're not comics, it won't translate onto the camera. Because even if because like what's the main difference I feel between a stand-up comic hosting a show like this is he assumes, or he or she assumes, that the stranger or the real audience does not know my personality. So he kind of builds his personality, what aspects he wants, and gives it to the audience so that his jokes have a context. So I think that lacks a lot, and yeah, I think Varun Dhawan is someone who was he's like a genuine funny guy, so it felt like, whatever he's saying was just like it wasn't funny, but it wasn't painful to watch. And even Saif Ali Khan's story that we watched on Reel, where he said that the director told him something and he said it in that way, but the director had a problem of what was the problem? He couldn't speak that well. So I think that's one story as well. So that was very good. But yeah, other than that, I want to come to the segment that we initially watched and then decided, okay, we need to talk about this. The first point everyone has in common is that this question, like, who works hard? Is it the 9 to 5 job going people, or is it the actors? And Kajol had an opinion that actors work more hard, and the other three had an opinion like, no, 9 to 5 people work harder, and then they come together and say that no, everyone works hard. So I want your opinions on that. I think we can start with Vedant.
So yeah, I mean, as I said, that the whole point, I feel that the whole point of this show is to just, go viral or just say something controversial so that people talk about it. That is why I think that a lot of, like, the segments that we watched, a lot of their opinions were, they maybe deliberately decided to have those two different opinions or say that kind of stuff so that people end up talking about it. So I don't want to get into whether or not they actually mean it or how bad it is, but uh, I just feel, because I also wanted to talk about the fact that you said about that they do this in the US, and it's kind of similar because a lot of actors. But the one thing that I've seen that has not translated well in talk shows, especially in India, is that when you're talking about the opinions of the actors, they only take opinions about things like these, like, love or your relationships or stuff like that. But no one actually ever asks any actor about their opinions about what is going on in the world, which we see happening in shows outside of India, which I would really like to see, because a lot of these people do live in their own bubble, and maybe that is the reason that they do not want to talk about this, because they'll come off like actual privileged brats who don't know about what's actually going on. But that is one thing that I actually want to see happening in any of the talk show like this in India. But coming back to the questions, most of them were really, you know, the questions themselves felt like they were meant to get controversial answers out of the guests as well as the hosts. Talking about the 9 to 5 thing, I personally thought that if you take up aside the fact that we probably know that they are doing this for interactions or engagement, if you look at it from the lens of someone who is just consuming this as truth, or someone who will actually feel that Kajol actually believes in this, or Kajol actually feels this, it's like really, really wrong, because people working on the sets with these actors while the shoot are actually putting in more effort than these people who do not have vanity vans, who do not have makeup rooms, who do not have a people catering to their small needs at every given time, right? There are spot boys, there are the staff, there are people recording, and every single one of them who has to come to the set before these actors to ensure that everything is in place, and has to leave after these people. So even forget about the rest of the industries. Like, I'm just talking about their own industry. When you say something like this, it actually makes the people in your own industry feel so irrelevant about their own worth, or maybe feel like, what is this person saying, or something like that. So that is particularly about the 9 to 5 thing, which the segment, of course, was about that actors work harder than the normal people who do 9 to 5. So that was a ridiculous thing. Coming to the rest of the questions, I found them pretty personal, like when it comes to things like open relationships, or whether you are friends with your ex or not. I think that is pretty subjective. Everyone can have their own opinion. So I don't want to get into all of that, because, again, Bollywood, as we know, everyone is involved with everyone. So you cannot expect them to have probably normal opinions. But one thing that I did observe was that it was pretty evident that they are trying to deliberately make choices, because you could see Alia Bhatt stopping Varun Dhawan from going there in that 9 to 5 thing, because she probably thought that he would get trolled, because she
Yeah, it would
he said,
better position him if he
yeah.
agreed with yeah, the general
So she
notion that
was
no
like,
9 to 5 people are work harder because that's better for
yes.
them if they believe that.
So
Yeah.
she was like, yeah, we are more privileged, but I think maybe he was in two minds, and Kajol was calling him over there. Kajol was actually asking him to come over there. Like, the whole point of this is to have your own opinion, but as she said, that the hosts themselves were not letting the guests talk or have their own opinions. They were just calling them to the other side, or just saying that, hey, we are three people on this side, and come here, we know what you actually think, and stuff like that, which was again ridiculous, because then what's the point of doing this entire charade? Now, uh, coming to the other episode of Janvi Kapoor and Karan Johar, I have a theory
Wait,
that
but can
they,
we just finish the 9 to 5 thing and then talk about
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
second
sure,
one,
sure.
because I also have the second one in the list. So,
Okay, okay.
Zui, I'll just come to you for the 9 to 5 thing.
Yeah.
Before that, I just want to talk about. Okay, so our thing on this channel basically is like, how media and mainstream media information affects culture, and how, like, generating the awareness about importance of media and how we perceive it and how people do it. When they're talking about the 9 to 5 thing, I feel that the generalization is such a big thing that I'll talk about after Zee. But here they're forgetting about the incentive that you actually get by working hard. So if they work hard, they have a huge incentive to work hard. And but if you talk about 9 to 5, which is generally a notion for people who are stuck in that job, they are not actually loving what they are doing. So that's the meaning of this statement. 9 to 5, meaning that people don't want to do that job, but they're stuck in that loop. So they don't have that kind of an incentive. Even if they work hard, it's not like their world is going to change and they're going to earn in millions if they give this project 5 6 months. It's not going to happen. So I think that's also something that we miss out when we talk about this. But yeah, Zui, you can just chime in here. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. As you accurately said, it is this small difference that they have. I think we can define it by the word choice. They have chosen this field
Yeah.
for themselves, and I think majority of 9 to 5 people, they don't choose that, they haven't chosen this life for themselves. They have to do it because it's a survival thing. not a thing that just they can do, or it's okay if they don't. It's not like that. So that's why this whole question to me was absolutely ridiculous, because I don't think that they understand, from the high ground, that they are thinking at
Yeah.
themselves, what they think of themselves as. I don't think they understand what 9 to 5 actually means. I think we have to have another discussion on. There has been I think some celebrities have come out and said that even stars have to have a 9 to 5 and not a 12-hour shift. That's a different discussion, but I think it's a follow up to this, and we can lead up to that after, like, later on. But I don't think that these people understand what actually 9 to 5 entails, because they
Yeah.
wake up, they come to work, they sit in their vanity van, they get dressed, they get their makeup done by people who are actually on a 12-hour shift as well, and they're working twice as hard when it comes to physical labor, and also getting constantly pushed around by these stars. So I'm not even going to go down that lane where how the crew usually is treated by all of these people, because those stories we already know. We already know how snobby people can get when they reach to a sort of level where they are called a celebrity or a star. So all of this snobby nature comes with that, and all of this crew has to deal with it. So that's a completely different thing. And then again, there is the thing where these 9 to 5 people who go to offices, and the I think Kajol was the one person who said that we have to do the mental job as well as the
Yeah.
physical job, and that is why it is much more challenging for us. And it's just so before I watched the episode, I did not know that even Kajol and Twinkle Khanna, for that matter, come from very affluent families. I thought that they actually, they were freshers, or they were really new to the industry
Yeah.
when they joined, and I did not know that. So I think now it puts all of these thoughts in a lot of perspective, because they're always they have been this privileged. They don't understand what actual real life of middle class people, who is the majority of Indians, looks like. They don't know it. So I wouldn't expect them to answer correctly. But I would also like to point out to the people who have written scripts for these shows. They have put this question in it. It's not Kajol or Twinkle Khanna who are thinking about 9 to 5 people. I don't think they care, actually. But
Yeah.
the people who have written these scripts, they have put this question in for those people. And I think this was a wrong thing to do, because it's fine, clickbaity and stuff like that. All of this is okay, but you also have to understand at, like, till what level their reach is mentally, and understanding of things around them. I don't think they have that sort of reach. And you and that's the whole. I mean, I'm just going back to what I said before. They haven't planned the show correctly. I don't think they've understood what they're trying to do. So this whole 9 to 5 thing, that's why it failed so miserably. Because firstly, this whole thing where they are trying to get people to their side, and then there is a winning side and there is a losing side. So opinions are not the whole thing of that segment. It's the right side and then a wrong side where things are happening. So I think after every point, Kajol or Twinkle Khanna were also saying that, oh, we won, so we are the winners in this question and stuff like that. So I didn't understand what the point of that segment was even. So that's why that my my problem here is with the people who have written the script for this show.
Yeah, yeah. So, I want to come to the generalization point because I actually don't care about their opinion that much because they can have that opinion, and yeah, we can sit here and decode everyone's opinion and why they are slightly wrong than this opinion and that opinion. Maybe they are ignorant about this and that. But what I feel is that when people in general make comments about these topics, we generalize a lot of things. So when we are saying hard work, when we are saying 9 to 5, when we are saying actors, it's really very subjective what people are thinking. So it's not a very nice way to have a discussion on a topic because you need to clear out what you mean by when you say these terms. And then Kajol goes on to talk about, I have seen my mother work hard, I have worked hard, my husband has worked hard. It's like, yes, that is true. You have worked hard and your husband has also worked hard. But the thing is, again, that. And I want to like, why am I talking about this? Because I think we have these conversations at home with our friends as well about all of this stuff, and I'm not surprised with these opinions, because I have seen a lot of other people give these opinions as well. That, I have seen people around me work very hard, because in my mind there is a particular definition of working hard, and they all tick off all the check boxes that I have, and I've seen that, and therefore I believe that, this life is very hard because I have chosen it, and I have gone through a lot of these things that I felt were very hard. But then you haven't seen the other side, but you have heard about the other side. And that's what people who may also are in this 9 to 5 job cycle are experiencing a lot of these things, and they don't actually know what the actors exactly do. So they may also feel like, okay, I am working so hard, but I am not getting that kind of money. And this guy just comes onto the reels, does one flop movie, and he is going to New York for a holiday. So this generalization makes us think that way, and we don't actually then realize, okay, what are we exactly talking about? Are we saying that actors don't work hard, or are we saying the 9 to 5 people don't work hard? That's not the case. So I just think that has to be there in our public voices as well. So who do we look up to? I haven't found anyone in India right now who has these many eyeballs and talks about, or whenever they talk about any of the things they talk about, they talk with this kind of nuance. I think Amir Khan was someone who used to do that, but recently I think his PR game has also changed a lot, and that then adds to Vedant's point, where we actually don't know whether they actually believe this stuff, or they are catering to their individual audiences. Because the Salman Khan segment, where we talked about, you have sent men to kitchen anyways, all the top chefs are men. So I don't think he actually maybe believes that, but he knows that his audience, most of his audience, are someone who are very traditional in that sense. Any religion they belong to, that doesn't matter. But there is still this gender role bias in their mind. So perhaps he's playing with that because he wants that audience to follow him more and see his and watch his movies. So that's why there's always this doubt that we all have whenever we watch these shows. But yeah, the generalization point is one thing that I wanted to talk about. Um, Apart from that, do you have anything else, or we can move
Yeah,
to the next?
I have a point.
Yeah.
So, of course, after the generalization point, there is also one thing that I think these people, when they're saying about the 9 to 5 stuff, I think one more thing that they're chasing is, this kind of weird obsession that Indian people have with stars. They put them on a high ground, and as high as gods even. So they are literally like, revering them. And we've seen it happen with Amitabh Bachchan. We've seen it happen with Rajnikant in the South. So I think that's the kind of level that they think of themselves on. Uh, but it also comes with a lot of struggle. So if it was an actor who has come from scratch and made his way up to the industry, and they are talking in a way like this कि नहीं 9 to 5 के लोग भी मतलब we were just as hard as 9 to 5 people, then it would have made some sense to me, because they have literally come from zero with no influence, and getting into the industry is actually hard. I mean, you cannot deny that, because look at all of these people. They're all coming from families who already have connects in the industry, and look at them like already succeeding in their own like industries or whatever, because they don't care about it. Even if they make one film a year, they're okay, they're well off. So that's okay. So I think if it came from a person who was a newbie in the industry, or someone who wasn't an epo kid, then I would have still said ki theek hai, 9 to 5 point is still okay. But this thing did not make sense to me. And the other thing that I wanted to talk about is how I realized that so I only watched like 2 episodes, one of the Varun Dhawan and Arya Bhatt episode, and the other one was Karan Johar and Janvi Kapoor. So what I have come to understand is that Janvi Kapoor, Varun Dhawan, and Alia Bhatt. I think not even Varun Dhawan that much, but Alia Bhatt and Janvi Kapoor at least, who are still, in catering to the younger audience, and they still understand that the social media part of all of
Yeah,
the things that they do. I realize that they're very media trained.
yeah,
So they
that's
really
yeah.
were very, keen on what kind of things that they are saying. And even if someone else is saying it, they were very keen on saying no to those things. So
Yeah.
I realized that they're actually very media trained. They understand what kind of how it can spiral. Even if it is a small thing that they have
Mm.
said, how it can spiral on social media. I think they understood that, and that is why they made some sense when they were talking. At least I think Janvi Kapoor made a lot of sense for a change. She said a lot of points that I thought I did not expect from her, honestly. So I
Yeah.
think Alia Bhatt and Janvi Kapoor are media trained, and I think that is what some kind of
Yeah,
media training needs to be done for Kajol
yeah,
and Twinkle
because
Khanna as well.
the reels that we saw,
Hmm.
like we were actually not encouraged by listening to Janvi Kapoor or Alia, but it was
Yeah.
Kaj because yeah, they are not media trained, and sometimes it may just play against the honesty and transparency thing. But yeah, I mean, you get to know because it was very clear that they know the capacity of how social media can just take it off. And Alia Bhatt is, I think, a victim of that. Anyways, she was very young, and of course, she said on Coffee with Karan only. I think she had this debacle where she couldn't actually name the Prime Minister of India, and like everyone actually considered her stupid for the next 5 6 years. And in social media, she was a meme. So she, I think, from her experience, she might know that if I say something that is just completely moronic, people will do anything with that, and which is sad as well, because I want people to be more honest, of course. They shouldn't be afraid of being honest, but obviously right now that's not the case in India. I mean, you are instantly a meme if you say something incredibly, I don't know, insane. But yeah. And the second thing was, there was this one sentence, I think Twinkle Khanna said to Janvi Kapoor, she's in her 20s. Once she gets older, she will get here, like to their side. And I think the topic was about, is physical cheating worse than emotional cheating and all. So I don't want to speak with it about that question and whether it is there or not. You can share your opinions, but often I want to relate that to how information works in India in authoritative way, where if a younger generation person is coming up with progressive thoughts, he is kind of instantly, uh, I wouldn't say a nudge down, but I would say that countered with experience. So experience, we expertise plays a lot as well. So if someone is older than you and they are saying something, even if maybe it's a bit illogical, Indians will believe that more than a younger person trying to say something with facts or with logic, because there is this um, authority hierarchy here in India. And I have myself experienced a lot whenever I talk with someone elder to me, my uncles or my father or someone, I have heard when they have said that, you're right now in your 20s. Once you get the experience, will come to this side, and which is, you know, I have never actually argued against their side. I have just put out that this is what I feel, and maybe I'll come to your side, but my foundations are logical and like critical thinking, analytical thinking. I doubt that I will believe in some mysterious power or maybe like a god or something like that. I doubt that. I don't think that even if I have an amazing, spectacular, magical experience, I would now correlate that with a certain deity or something like that. But I have been told a lot of times that you will once you experience. And that's where I felt that a lot of times in India this does happen when there are progressive thoughts coming up from younger generations. They are sidelined a bit by saying that once you get older, then we will listen to you, because right now you just lack experience that we have. And yeah, that shouldn't happen also. Yeah. Yeah, apart from that, if you want anything to say more about this, I think yeah, my I had these 2 points. Yeah.
So I personally thought, like this is my theory that this entire segment was made to maybe show Janvi Kapoor as a intellectual or a person with good thoughts, because she was almost all of the questions that I saw in the segment. It was about that you should not stalk your ex, after who they are dating right now. Then, of course, the point that you mentioned about emotional and physical cheating. Then there was another thing that you should actually marry someone because you love them and not because just you're compatible with them. And about there was something about being a morning person. Now, as I said earlier, all of these questions are just really stupid, and I don't like them because it's just suited to these people, and like you actually gain nothing out of it. Like,
Yeah.
what do you care about what this person thinks about a relationship or something? Because all of us know that relationships are Bollywood in just are just not what normal people actually do. And this has been proven time and time again when even Kajol and Twinkle Khanna, when they themselves say, again, this could be for just going viral or engagement, but when they themselves say that she's in her 20s, she'll get to know about this later, it just implies that they are not having good marriages, which is just like absurd to say on a talk show, but maybe they don't care about it. Karan Johar himself is a very controversial guy who just keeps saying all of this stuff, and he probably doesn't care. So in this segment, particular segment, Jahnavi Kapoor actually said all of the things that are right according right by right I mean is that what most of the masses or the younger people
Yeah.
actually believe in, and they want to make her sound relatable to them, they want to make her sound intellectual. That is why this entire segment felt like it was very much scripted, where she was always sounding right
Yeah.
and these people were sounding like old idiots who do not
Be like
know uh,
that's part
anything.
of media training, like Zui said.
Yeah, of course,
Media
it's part of
you
media training, but I
you
also
know
feel that the
exactly what to
questions were
say because
also
yeah.
framed that way,
Mm.
particularly to make her sound intellectual. Because if you actually went and asked her about something else, then her media training would not come into play here because she probably would not have knowledge. But these are some things that these people know what will get them brownie points among the masses and what the people will hate. Like what is actually happening. Like people in the comments are hating on Kajol and Twinkle. Like, how can I actually say about this? You're married to Ajay Devgan, Akshay Kumar, and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But Janhvi Kapoor came out as someone who's smart and someone who knows what she's doing, and stuff like that. So that is my personal theory, or that is what I personally feel, that this entire segment was uh, probably scripted, or she is
Yeah,
media
could
trained. I don't
be.
know, but it
And
just felt.
yeah, I don't doubt that because we know that, a lot of things are actually very scripted and it feels as though it's candid and it's authentic, but it's not. That authenticity is also scripted. Uh,
And the one
yeah.
thing, just to conclude, this entire segment that I watched, of course, throughout the time I watched it, I thought that this is just made for virality and stuff, like they don't actually mean it. But
Yeah, my next question was going to be, who do you think the show is for actually?
okay, but I just had this one point about
Yeah.
what Karan Johar said. So I actually was only offended by one thing that he said. This was during the marriage question. He said that love can be bought. And I thought it is such a, like, even if I'm thinking that, these people are saying things just for the sake of it, it's just a ridiculous thing to say. And it is so pro-capitalist that love can be bought these days. Like at times when we live where the world is actually crumbling and there are wars going on and stuff like this, and hearing someone say this, it just felt very capitalist, and I don't know, just supporting capitalism for me, that nowadays you can buy love as well. You don't actually have to put any efforts or
Again, but
feelings into it.
yeah, it's just I think associating our own experiences with
Yeah.
this general theory and like I mean yeah I'll give Zui chance to talk because she doesn't like to interrupt. But the thing is that when we have a theory in mind, okay, why is this thing happening? And then if you relate, and there this is a logical fallacy, this is the like it's a studied thing where people take their own experience and that experience is either very traumatizing for them or very dopamine level thing for them, that they take this experience and then back their theory of whatever the solution is for this problem, and they are so convinced by that that they don't look at the actual facts or actual truth
Yeah.
what it is. And that's the generalization thing as well. Like you take your own experience and say, yeah, aajkal, this aajkal phrase is also very nonsensical, or in today's time or in today's era, it's very nonsensical because you can actually say anything. And if you have that experience, people may believe that if they don't critically, or they don't criticize you on that thing. Yeah, yes.
Okay. So, coming back to Avnish's point of authoritarianism in India, I think I will just connect it to the point that I made about how these actors are put on a pedestal. कि ये तो गॉड ही है, मतलब if he's acting in a movie, and if a person is acting in a movie and if they're crazy strong or they're fighting 1,000 people, then they somehow become god level people for them. And I think that is where this sort of narrative is coming from, where they think ki, oh, we're very good, we're like very we're better than all of the other people. So I think that is where this whole perspective of Kajal and Twinkle, where they were saying कि नहीं नहीं इसको तो आता नहीं है, इसको तो पता नहीं है. So I think that is where for थोड़ा सा तो at least it comes from there. And the other thing again, it comes from where they think that talking about all of this stuff and having an opinion which is oh so modern is very cool. Because I realized that in the Janvi Kapoor episode also, they were constantly talking about sex. Like there was I don't think if you saw the previous part, like before the choosing
Okay.
segment, I don't think if you saw that part, but they were constantly talking about sex. And that is where I negate with Vedant's point of maybe they were positioning Janvi Kapoor as a more connecting to the current audience, and they wanted to show her or promote her in that certain way. I don't think that that was their whole point, but I still agree that Janvi Kapoor is very well media trained, and she said the things that were like accepted by majority of the people online. But I don't agree with that point, because they made a lot of jokes about Karan Johar and Boni Kapoor being sexually involved, and Boni Kapoor is Janvi Kapoor's father, and it
Yeah.
sounded very wrong,
Yeah.
firstly. And then they made a lot of other jokes. I mean, there was a question where like one truth, one lie, something like that. And Janvi Kapoor asked that to Karan Johar, and Karan Johar said that, like, one truth, one lie. I have had sexual
Yeah.
relationships with one of your family member, and the other thing is that I lost my virginity at 26 or something.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
was like, why are you saying all of that? Firstly, Janvi Kapoor, he said that Janvi Kapoor is basically like his daughter,
Yeah.
because after Sridevi, he had the responsibility of grooming her and something like that. And then he made a sexual remark at her father or some family member, and these remarks did not stop there. Even Kajol and Twinkle Khanna were constantly making these sexual remarks. And I mean, to what felt to me was that Janvi Kapoor was getting very clearly uncomfortable with all of this, because she was saying that she does not want to listen to them making these remarks or
Yeah.
comparing sexualities of her father and
Okay.
I don't know, her
Yeah.
boyfriend. So yeah.
This, I think we've seen this as well, because it could also be because the podcast thing really exploded in India for in the last 3 4 years, and this reputation of podcast is mostly you go there and you talk anything, and like you get millions of views because it's like the free press
Yeah.
thing, right? There are no restrictions. You can talk about anything. And then coming to, okay, do people want to listen to this stuff? Okay, yes. Do they want the old gossip thing that came into magazines? No, because they already get to know that through social media. So now we have to come in front of the camera and talk about things that uh, perhaps they don't talk about, but we are like show them that we are brave enough to talk about this, and Because yeah, some things are fine, but this what you're saying talking about, I remember, yeah, that there was the meme reel that came in, and there was like a very small segment of what you were talking about Janvi Kapoor and her father having relations with Karan Johar, and it's fine if you talk about it, but the way that is framed, it really, yeah, it feels like they have this one audience in mind, which I can't figure out, like what is the audience for this. Perhaps it's the maybe like the 17 to 21 year olds who, yeah, and who are obviously privileged enough to go to parties and pubs and obviously spend a lot on fashion, and because the ads that they show are all about jewelry and fashion during the show,
Yeah.
and maybe that's the audience, and they don't actually care about people like us, what we think about them, but they want the younger generation to see, oh, okay, they are so cool, they're talking about all this open relationship stuff, and uh, yeah, I mean, they're so openly talking about Karan Johar being gay, like, yeah, no one talks about that. So yeah, I mean, maybe they are looking at that audience and talking about this. But yeah, again, my point, they're not comics, they don't know comedy, so whatever they do feels very uncomfortable, because these jokes can actually be funny, definitely can be funny, but they aren't. If you want to compare this, there's one discussion show, like there's one show with Ananya Pandey, Tanmay Bhatt, and Rohan Joshi, and then there are more few
Yeah.
comics. I think Biswa is also there. You look at that, they also talk about weird stuff, but then that's funny because these are professional comedians who know how to frame it, who know like what context to throw at people, what is the setup, what can be the punchline. And again, I just feel that they may be funny in their own circle. In front of camera, it just doesn't come that way. Just they just feel like very obnoxious kind of people, and they maybe aren't those kind of people, but it comes out that way when you're in front of a camera and talk about what you talk about in your inner circle. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think maybe you shouldn't take these shows more seriously than you take memes on social media, because
yeah.
both of them are made from the same purpose, that just go viral, create engagement, and don't care about the impact or the repercussions it actually has on people. So for me personally, this show can improve, but right now in the state that it is, I wouldn't recommend anyone to watch it, or probably even take whatever they are saying seriously, because I personally feel that whatever they're doing, it's just for
Yeah, and
engagement.
yeah, and don't take seriously. But then again, in that show, they also talk about how I think they were looking at, or no, they were asking a question to Salman Khan or something like, "Do you cry?" And then she said that if you open up and say that yes, I cry, it can serve as a like a very big example to the audience, and they will also start expressing. So if they feel that it's good to talk about this stuff, then like stick to that perhaps, or
Yeah.
then it can't be everything can't be there in one show. It can either be like, okay, I want to dive deep into actors' life, or it can either be I just want to have fun with actors and don't care about the other social things. I'll just do something, or like what this guy does, right? Graham Norton. Have you watched Graham
Yeah.
Yeah.
Norton? So it's he is amazing because he never says that I want actors to be portrayed as, like Zoe is saying, people who are responsible for the society. So he doesn't even interview them that way. He talks about their stories, he talks about movies, and that show then fit within the context of, okay, I like this actor, let's hear about what his life is. That's the context, and that's it. Then they don't pretend that what they say matters so much, or okay, this guy is donating this to this charity, so all right, he's such a big person. They don't do that in that show, whereas in other late night talk shows that does happen there. So yeah, it's a lot of things that go into these talk shows, and what the hosts feel like. If they feel like they're going to have an impact, they shouldn't do all these things. If they don't feel like, yeah, there's no impact, I just have fun, no one cares about my life, then just stick to that. I think that would be
Yeah, and I think it
better.
also helps when like you said, if the host is a comedian or
Yeah.
is not a star themselves, then it really helps, because
Yes.
they're not trying to steal the spotlight like these two are in the show. They're constantly even between themselves, not even with their guests. I mean, of course with their guests, but also between themselves, they're constantly trying to steal the spotlight for whatever reason. And
Yeah.
it sort of
Mhm.
seems like it's not a talk show also, it's just a normal hangout thing where they're just talking over each other, and they're saying ki, matlab, if someone is saying something, they'll cut them and then they'll get the limelight to themselves, and all of that seems like that. But in the other talk shows where the host is actually a host and not a star,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
it actually makes more sense, because then they're actually interested in getting answers from them
Yeah, even
and
even
not just creating a chaotic situation where everyone is screaming.
yeah, I think Kapil Sharma, I don't like his comedy that much now. I used to like it a lot when I was younger, but
Yeah.
he still does it quite well on his show. I mean, whenever I tune in, if I, just it's on Netflix, right? So if I switch on that any episode, he is not like that. And I think he actually is the one who used to have a lot of spotlight because people used to come to watch him. But whenever he interviewed someone, he never actually took anything away from them. It was always something in the middle. And again, because he's a comedian by profession, that's why even his jokes maybe does not land with us, but they land with the people or his audience, and they are never insulting, or they are never actually taking the show's level down, or it's becoming just loud or something like that, because he's a comedian, because he knows the timing, he knows what the setup should be, and that's what helps them out. So I think that training is also maybe required
And I
for
think with
these hosts.
just one last point
Yeah.
about Graham Norton, what I have also observed is that he, of course, he does not try to get the attention to himself, but when he has three or four guests, a lot of the good moments I've watched from that show are when he has led the conversation
Yes.
take on from his guests. Like they are having a candid conversation and he is just kind of supporting it or not trying
Yeah.
to do anything, which is, of course, missing in this
And
show as well. So
also,
that is one good quality of his as well.
and guests also come with that expectation. Like
Yeah.
after few seasons, they know that if I go to Graham Norton, it's a amazing opportunity to show myself as this human being, because because whatever stories they tell, you just look at the way they present that story in Graham Norton and in other shows. In other shows, they will probably present it like, okay, I am an actor and I am experiencing this. And in Graham Norton, it's like, oh, my friend asked me this story, so I'm telling him that story. I'm just having fun over here, and that just changes the way people are perceived. And that's why I think, yeah, there's a difference between who the host is, what are the questions, how they are being asked. Yeah, all right. Yeah. So I think we've talked enough about this, but I don't want to skip the two important points that we wanted to talk about. So usually I will end the episode after 40-50 minutes, but I think let's talk about it very briefly. First thing is the China thing. I think let's talk about that first. So the new law that was enforced by China was that they will now restrict people talking about media, law, finance, and other specialized fields if they don't have a degree in that field. Now, I saw a reel, and a very famous content creator actually endorse that and say that, okay, that might work. But then there were comments about, it won't work. And I feel that it shouldn't be this way. Like, if you have a degree in that topic, you are able to talk about it. First thing I feel is that the medical field can be an exception because it directly affects someone's health. Otherwise, any other topic, the issue is not about what people are saying. The issue is people are not media literate enough, or media educated enough. That's why they are believing and trusting on people who don't have any credential to talk about these topics, don't share their resources, don't do research, just talk about their opinion as though it is truth. And because the audience is not media literate enough, they feel as though this is the truth, because again, there's a difference between what sounds true and what actually is true. So a very quick example is, someone from the media, someone from the medical field, or a content creator talking about health, for example, can say eating fruits every day will ensure that you stay healthy for your life. Now this is a very true sounding statement. Anyone would feel, I mean, why would it be false? But then a medical professional will tell you that eating fruits every day will not ensure you will stay fit throughout your life. It will perhaps help your immunity or help your body to stay a bit fitter than compared to if you don't eat fruits. So that's the difference, and that's what I feel is more necessary. And I don't want our government also taking this step like, okay, if you have a degree in this field, only then you can talk about it. But yeah, I mean, your opinions on it if you have any. Yeah.
So I was actually reading about it, and so when you told me about it, I thought it's for all people. But when I read about it, I read that it's a law specifically for influencers to not talk
Yeah,
about.
yeah,
And then
influencers,
while I
social
was
media.
reading, it like this actually clearly mentions that this is not to stop people from talking about that issue, but it is to like people, influencers can have casual conversations about it, but they cannot give professional advice. So it sounds good when it is put this way, but the only issue with that is that it is not actually specified what is casual and what is actually professional guidelines. Like as you said, that thing about fruits, if you consider it from one perspective, it could be true, but when you consider it from another perspective, it could be false. So the thing when you introduce these laws is that you actually need to be very, very specific about what the terms mean, because when you introduce vague topics like these, people will always find loopholes within it and it will always create issues. So if it is only for content creators who are just giving out vague advices, which we see in India, like anyone just gives advices on stock markets and what to eat, what not to eat, Ayurveda and stuff like that. That is good that you need to have some background, some degree, some knowledge about it, and then you can talk about it. But you cannot restrict them from, in general, having an opinion about whatever that field or anything is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't have. I think I won't say too much about this topic because I would like to read a little bit more on this. But one thing I agree with what Vedant said is that yes, it is true that you should not pass on information that is not fully not fully understood by you to people who clearly are influenced by you. So that is one true part. But I think there is also this part where if you have an opinion, then can it be shared? Or, this whole clarity thing. I think this is the one thing that I agree with. And because I don't have clarity on this subject, I'd like to pass and, move on.
Yeah, I think so. What you're talking about, my issue is with the degree thing because see, people can have information, they can share few things, and yeah, I also agree the advice thing. So you shouldn't give advice, but again, I don't want the government to restrict that. I want them to say that don't believe in these influencers who don't have any credentials or any expertise or don't share any sources, and then believe them. Rather, believe other guys who either have credentials or share their sources, because not everyone is actually interested in completely studying the medical field
Yeah.
or completely studying law, but they have an understanding where they can share things. Now, if can I share my personal finance journey, for example? I wouldn't advise it because I am smart enough. I am not that kind of a content creator who would say follow this because this helped me. I will say this is my experience. If you want, you can do it, but I would advise look at your own life. But so I think that's where media literacy comes in, because I feel the issue is media literacy more than who can talk and who cannot talk, and do you need a degree to talk about. Because even we don't expect our politicians to have a degree as well. Why? Because you don't believe that having a degree will give you any kind of edge to actually manage the tasks that are at hand. And that's what I feel when it comes to social media. That's where it is, that you don't need a degree to talk about things. If you are giving advice financially or finance or medical or law, you need to provide credentials so that people will trust you more. If you don't, or if you aren't doing that, anyone else or other people have the right to say you are bullshit, basically. Like, you're not talking sense because you don't know anything about this. So that's where I come in for this. So I appreciate that they're trying to tackle misinformation, because misinformation is a big thing. But the biggest thing that they can do, or even our country can do, to tackle misinformation and fake information, and even I'm so, it's so unfortunate that even the older generation now, like 80 plus people, are also now so much exposed to social media content. They can't, they don't have that media literacy to differentiate between what is AI, what is not, what is fake, what is not. They will take it as truth. And because it's just chaos, and that's why the government should take this step of media literacy more than, restricting what can
Yeah.
happen online. So, and the next one was, I think, lastly, another important news where our Minister of Broadcast and Information suggested OTT platforms and I think movies that don't show India in bad light, because it can affect international relations or something like that. And then also they had a few suggestions for crime as well, like don't glorify crime, right? So Vedan, just give me the exact information so we can just share our opinion. Yeah.
Yeah. So last week we talked about the CBFC and movies in theaters getting banned. This time it's about MIB and OTT platforms. So basically, I'll just read out what has happened. The Ministry of Information and Broadcasting has issued a new advisory to online content publishers and regulating bodies to be careful while releasing any type of content on digital platforms, which is movies, documentaries, biopics, web series, which essentially depicts crime like gangsters or criminals. Now, the advisory warns against any material that affects the sovereignty and integrity of India. It jeopardizes the security of the state. It harms India's friendly relations with foreign countries or incites violence and disturbs public order. Now, just like China's law, again, another issue I have with this is that phrases like affects the integrity or sovereignty of India or is detrimental to friendly relations or which disturbs public order is again very vague and subjective. You have to be very specific about what you're talking about, because until you have clear definitions, you can use any movie or story which has crime or politics or anything in it, and you can accuse it of being disturbing, that is against this advisory that has been issued. So unless you actually define the terms very specifically about what you want the people to show, what you don't want the people to show, anything can be banned. Like a movie or a series about the 26/11 attacks in Mumbai can be banned because they can say that you are showing content that is violent or which affects the integrity of India, because you're actually showing that not Pakistani, but terrorists infiltrated the border so easily, which highlights how poor our security system is. And then they did so much of damage and killed our citizens. So this is not good for the image of India. So you cannot show this. But this is fact. This actually happened. But unless you actually bring out terms that specifically define what you want to show or what you don't want to show, it's always going to be a big bit of an issue, because then you cannot show any documentaries, you cannot show any things that have happened in real life. And it also gives these groups that we talked about in the last episode, when the government issues guidelines like these, it gives the groups a free hand to go and oppose or go and protest against any OTT content, because as I said, without clear definitions, you can accuse any kind of
Yeah.
content to be against the nation or which incites crime or anything like that. And then this just stops people from having or prevents meaningful conversations about things that are actually taking place, because then it just becomes that show India as the greatest nation in the world, show that we are the biggest and we have this good things, these bad things. If you show anything bad about the nation, then it's against the nation, you cannot show it. So stuff like this is kind of harmful.
Yeah, any kind of criticism basically can actually be in that bracket. Yeah. Do you anything
Yeah,
you have
I
anything?
think we are clearly carrying forward from the point that we had discussed last time about how a mob tried to take down a film because they thought that it was not aligning with their values or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think whenever a country or a government is trying to withhold art from getting out and trying to they're trying to impose rules like these where it's so ambiguous, and you cannot, how do you define, how do you even categorize how any film or how any scene or how probably an actor playing out can affect the integrity of a nation? You cannot do that. Just imagine if it is a film literally made on how great India is, and if an actor does not act well in it, does it affect the integrity of India?
Yeah.
It can, right? And an actor is this is not a great actor and he's Indian. That is affecting the Indian integrity. So I think all of this is very ambiguous, and you're just trying to uh, withhold all of the information that there is out there, and you're only trying to bottleneck that one particular thing that you want to talk about, and only that gets out, and people only get to watch that. You as a government, as a body that is responsible for what kind of content goes out, or anybody like the any certification like the UA certification or the adult certification. So all of these certifications make sure that whatever content is going out, is it okay for the audience to take in. So you are as a body trying to say that okay, only this much will go out, everything else is not okay. So then that is bringing so much, that is creating such a small boundary for the creators that are actually good, and they can take Indian cinema or Indian content to the next level. We can actually get
Yeah.
integrity out of it. We are just trying to limit that, and that makes no sense to me. And I think one thing that I said the other day was that we are slowly inching towards complete takeover of information, and I don't know, dictatorship probably.
These are, yeah, these are signs that, uh, I mean, why, if anyone has a doubt, like, why are you talking about media information? I mean, does it affect that much really? So yes, because governments do really want a particular type of messaging to go out, because the way people consume information matters so much to influence their thoughts, their opinions, and how they think about either the government or their country. One thing, lastly, again, yeah, what it does is, like, I don't think India is right now exposed so much to this independent art, because we are so boxed into these ideas that come from our culture and traditions. And I may be wrong because I haven't read about it. I don't know exactly this what the theory is or anything, but I mean, even if a movie right now, at least a mainstream movie, for example, goes slightly outside the box, there
Hmm.
is a lot of controversy surrounding it, and then the next director or the next writer is going to think, okay, I'll just be here. Maybe not completely inside this box, but at least on the boundary, I won't try to go outside. Because while talking, when you were talking about your points, I just remembered this series that I had recommended you all to watch. I Love Dick. So it's Catherine Hahn, and it talks about nudity and body expressions. And we often are in a debate about whether these actresses, when they are wearing no low necks or something like that, so are they, like, trying to get more views, or are they just expressing their sexuality or something like that. But that series existing means that the actors, directors, writers tried to explore a concept. Now it doesn't matter if that concept is right, it's wrong, whether it's sending a wrong message or something like that. If it is genuinely explored, or the director or the writer genuinely wants to explore, that art should exist. And it should exist because people can criticize it, or people can praise it, or people can understand and try to think, oh, let me think from this perspective now and see where it takes me. I know that a lot of, like, majority of India are not in this position right now. They are in, I mean, we are 70% rural, so people are in villages, and many people who have now shifted to the city. I think they are again in the survival mode, so they are not going to really think about all of these things. So I get that India right now is not in a position where anything can exist and it can just be either criticized or passed off as something that is just present and we don't really care, because people won't understand it or people don't have time to think about it. Really, we are actually living, we all of us, we are discussing right now, or I think in the top 1.5% of this privilege bracket, where we can talk, we have enough time to consume all of these things and talk about it. But still, what happens when the government agencies kind of then say something like this? That means that the government is not trying to think about progress, like how we can take people from this position and then move them to this position where they can now consume art and expressions, but rather it's about let's stay here, because anything outside of this is going to harm a bigger and larger community, and then there will be chaos. We don't want that, so just stay here, just talk about nice things, don't pressurize people into thinking that change should happen or something like that. So that's something I don't like from when it
And
comes
just
from the government
adding to your
agencies.
point, where you're talking about why we are talking about media and information. So this happened recently. I don't know if it's true or not, but the Aam Aadmi Party claimed that. So basically, we saw a video where I had shared on the group about the during the Chhat Puja. As we know, the Yamuna River is so polluted. There was a separate pond or
Mm.
a separate section created where apparently Prime Minister Modi was going to come and take a dip in it to show that probably the
Yeah.
Yamuna is, but it was created in such a way that people do not understand that it is separate from the actual river. But that was
Mhm.
exposed on social media, and
Yeah.
then the Aam Aadmi Party later claimed that the Prime Minister cancelled his visit because this got exposed and people started talking about it. So another reason as to why
Yeah.
this is why the government wants to control the messaging and why they do not want to uh, let these things get out into the public is to avoid being exposed like this. Now, I don't know if this is true or not, but it may well be true. And I would actually believe in it because the kind of things that are happening in Delhi right now due to the AQI and everything, it is actually the government is trying to control the messaging so much that they are just doing ridiculous things to convince the public that they're good on it. And then, as you said, that is why these conversations matter so that public actually get to know both sides of the coin instead of just what the government is trying to feed them information with.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, I think that's it. That's it. We are done for today. Yeah, I think it was a nice conversation. We went a bit too deep, as we always do, to all the topics, and we say, okay, let's finish in 25 minutes, and we are halfway there for the first topic after 25 minutes. But anyways, yeah, I think later on it was. I think I like the part when we differentiated how a host should be and why this show does not work. That is also very important to talk about, instead of just saying that these people are bad, these people bad, these people good. I don't think that works. I don't think that is
It
true
only
as
works
well.
in their show.
Yeah.
This is good, this is bad. Yeah.
Yeah. But all right, thank you for joining me, and we will meet next time. We'll meet next week, and I have a bunch of things lined up which I will share after you all leave. I have recorded or going to record a separate video where I tell everyone, because I don't want to burden you, because after the video also I tell you, before the video I tell you, I'm constantly telling you what I'm up to. So I'll tell you guys. So let's meet until. No, sorry, what do I say? Yeah, until next time. Thank you for listening to this episode. I am truly grateful. If you haven't yet subscribed, I request you to do so. I also request you to comment or reach out to me if you want us to discuss something what you like. You can also DM me on Instagram. My handle is navigating underscore convocast. I also post facts on media and information ecosystem over there, and how it has shaped humanity since ages. I also post explainers on this YouTube channel, so stay tuned for that as well. Alright, that's it. Until next time.